Anyway. It's on both sides in gun control. That's not both sidesing it. The fuck do you mean? I'm a firm believer that regulations clearly do not completely eviscerate the problem in and of itself. But I'm a firm believer that most people, if you give them like petty bureaucracy and some red tape, are probably, you're going to prevent a tremendous amount of issues from happening. And the inverse is also true. If you eradicate the hurdles and boundaries that are there to, like, you know, stop people from doing impulse purchases of weapons or whatever, you are going to definitely have a noticeable decrease in gun violence. You can't completely eradicate it. You can't eviscerate it, okay? It doesn't matter. You can't do that. The job of the government is to implement regulation that tries to tackle the problem a little bit, okay? That's what you are supposed to do. My brother tried to kill himself this year after he got drunk using his gun. Now he's paralyzed. Gun control would help prevent an ease of access to suicide. Full auto firearms are technically legal. Why don't people use them in crimes? Because of all the red tape? No, it's also the price. It's really, really expensive. It's like, what, 15 grand to possibly get, to possibly even pay for the ATF allowance or something, right? Or is it 30 grand? Nobody's fucking putting down 30 grand so they can, like, use an automatic gun, a fully automatic gun, which, by the way, is, like, also quite difficult to fucking kill a bunch of people with. An AR-15 is so much easier to kill a bunch of people with if you're just, like, not a super well-trained person. In order to be able to kill multiple people with a fully automatic gun, you have to train with it nonstop. You know how fucking expensive that shit is? The amount of bullets under Joe Brandon's America that you need to fucking go through. And then also the license fee that you need to pay, which is like 30 grand. And I don't even think they give that to you unless you, like, literally own a gun store, I'm pretty sure. But hey, guess what? That in and of itself is also, again, a violation of the Second Amendment. You give up your Fourth Amendment protections of the full autos as well. Yeah. I wonder why nobody fucking talks about that. I wonder why that's not as big as a problem for many other Americans. Anyway, but we're not done here. The bold, brave, beautiful J.D. Vance. What is he doing with his time in the Senate? What is he doing? Well, let's take a look. He's making an argument against mask mandates, which currently do not exist, mind you. Okay? He's created a problem, and now he's going to solve that made-up problem that he created.
Children most of all need, and I'm the father of 3 kids under the age of 7, they need us to not be chicken little about every single respiratory pandemic and problem that confronts this country. We are going to have people who get sick from viruses. It has always been thus, and the way to respond to it is with calmness, resolve, and strategic thinking, not by pretending the world is ending, because what has always happened is going to happen once again. We cannot repeat the anxiety, the stress, and the non-stop panic of the last couple of years. That's what this legislation is about. End the mandates, end the panic, and let's get back to some common sense.
Okay, wait, there's got to be a longer video. I saw a longer video on this. Does anyone have the longer video? Because it's really fucking funny. He is proposing a shutdown on possible mask mandates for the next 18 months. Okay, like literally until the election is over. Okay, now the mandates don't exist, but he's like saying that they will implement mandates again. And of course, he uses like the one random fucking college in Atlanta and the Lionsgate mask mandates that they had in Santa Monica that they implemented for literally 4 days, okay? 4 days. Why did they implement it? Because someone had COVID in the fucking in the office, and they wanted to make sure that like people still went to work, but they were, they just didn't get COVID. And they are using that. Okay, they're using that to argue that mask mandates are coming.
A week ago.
And here's his legislation, okay?
Donald Trump issued a video, a very sensible video, saying no more mandates. We're not going back to.
This is not what I'm talking about, though. He talked on the floor.
Mr. President, let me offer just a couple of thoughts in response.
Senator from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we're on a short timeline, but let me just offer a couple of points in response, and then I'll let this body go on with its business. Number one, Senator Markey mentioned the tragic number of Americans, over 1 million, who lost their lives due to COVID, and I agree that it's a tragedy, and I wish that we hadn't lost them. But we lost them in spite of some of the most aggressive masking policies in the world. If mandatory masking were going to save our citizens, it would have already done so. That's the first point. The second point is that this legislation doesn't prevent any of our citizens from wearing masks. If you would like to wear a mask, of course, you have the right to do so. But the senator talked about freedom. What I would like is for the freedom of a school child to not be thrown out of classroom because he doesn't want to wear a mask. I would like the freedom of airline passengers to be able to go and visit their families and not be thrown off an airplane because they refuse to wear a mask. Freedom is fundamentally about respecting that you might have a different view than I do. Respecting that, accepting it, and not using government mandates to force our fellow citizens to do exactly what we want them to do, but to let us all figure this out together. The final point that I'll make here is I heard some pretty alarming rhetoric from my friend on the other side of the aisle. We are about to have some serious respiratory problems. We always do in the fall, and maybe it will be worse this fall and this winter than before. But I think that what our children most of all need, and I'm the father of 3 kids under the age of 7, they need us to not be chicken little about every single respiratory pandemic.
He's like, bunch of pussies, dude. The government is a bunch of pussies with this masking shit. I say, as I'm terrified of putting on a mask, and claim that having to put on a mask, if there is a fucking viral disease going around, a viral respiratory disease going around, that's still killing a shit ton of people, by the way. Yeah, not like 1,000 people a day, okay, but still more than like, still significantly more than the common flu is, okay? But like that in and of itself, I'm the big brave boy. I'm the big brave boy who made up a problem and is now saying it should be illegal to implement mask mandates. It's so strange. Want to know how horrible it was working in a grocery store, getting yelled at about toilet paper and getting COVID 3 times because people do not wear a mask? Fuck me. Is it that hard? Just not to go out when you're sick. And yes, I had a mask on. Yeah. Did you see Breaking Point's panel? The people on the panel were convinced that Joe Biden's going to use another mandate to win the election. I just don't get it. Is fear-mongering about mask mandates politically advantageous, you think? Yes. I do think so. Yes, I do. Because they have nothing to run on. So they need something desperately to run on. And this is like a very low-stakes battle to engage in. It's one where the battle lines were drawn. And also, let's be fucking real. Like, most people don't want to go back to the COVID lockdown, not allowed to fucking go outside of your house times. Even if they weren't able to, even if they could just go outside freely in most red states, especially. Okay? Most people don't want to think about that time period because it was very depressing. And I say this as someone who literally grew astronomically during COVID when everybody was fucking stapled to their goddamn seats watching Twitch streams. And I still absolutely would much rather never have that happen and never see that career boost, okay? Because it was awful. It was traumatic. It's just like, it was significantly worse for other people. Okay? People that had to work during the pandemic. Like, so much worse for them. And it was so much better for me. And even I'm saying that it was, like, really fucked up. You know what I mean? It took a major toll on my mental health that I, like, recovered from a year, a couple years, only a couple years later. Anyway, so even if you were like a Republican who never actually experienced like a serious shutdown, you spiritually were damaged by the fear that you might not be able to get your jalapeno poppers, okay? Lockdown didn't do that to you. GTRP did. No, lockdown did that to me. What the fuck are you talking about? Ridiculous to say that it was only Grand Theft Auto roleplay. Like, come on. Anyway. Yeah, fuck the immunocompromised. Am I right? Yes, that is what we are saying. We're saying fucking kill the immunocompromised. That's what we're saying. No, man. No. That's not what we're saying. I don't know why you're like running with that every single time. Okay? There's always someone that says this. Now, having said that, having said all of this, the reason why I think this is a fucking idiotic thing that they're pushing for is because you don't know. You don't know what the future holds. There could be a new strain of COVID that is just as deadly as like the pre-vaccine COVID era. Okay? So like trying to issue some idiotic like anti-mask measure like this is so stupid. Like trying to curb back the CDC's powers in this regard when their entire purpose of existence is to do this, is to prevent pandemics from exploding, skyrocketing the number of deaths, which America absolutely had a major problem with. God damn it, dude. Also, the fuck immunocompromised, am I right? People are so annoying because they fail to recognize that most Americans have this mindset even before COVID. Yeah, like that's the other part of this this issue is that yes, fuck the immunocompromised has been like kind of the number one thing that Americans have believed even before COVID. But also another issue that I need to point out is that if you think like there's one area that America actually unconditionally excels on, for those of you who say fuck the immunocompromised, am I right? And that is the ADA. Okay? Disability activists love using disability as a cudgel against labor movements without recognizing that like this is the one country on the fucking planet that has made the best accommodations for disabled people, even though it's not enough still, okay? Americans are spiritually incredibly ableist. However, American regulations have protected disabled people so much better than all of those European socialist states that you fucking think are socialist, okay? The ADA is probably one of the greatest pieces of legislation in this fucking nation. The one thing we got right, okay? Accessible wheelchair areas. Yup. Law that's fucking lies. Look at Nordic countries. I mean, America's very good. I can only think of Japan being better. Fuck no, dude. What are you, crazy? No. No, there are so many There are plenty of places in Japan, in every fucking European city, in every major European city that like is just completely inaccessible. If you have some kind of like restrictions. Anyway. Yeah, I went up to France recently with my kid in a stroller walking around the cities. There's super bumpy sidewalks and curbs, cracked pavement and stuff. I just remember, man, if I was in a wheelchair, I'd be fucked. Okay, let me tell you something. That's because you fucking walked for the first time in a city, okay? That is not what I'm talking about. It's not the cracked pavement and the curbs and stuff. Those issues are going to exist. The only reason why you would not experience that in America is because there's nowhere to walk in America, okay? What I'm talking about is stairs. There are no ramps anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the entire continent of Europe, okay? No, poor sidewalks is fine. No elevators, no stairs, okay? I had a little sister in a wheelchair, and there's a ramp for almost every entrance. We got to skip lines, and shit was tight. Anyway. So, isn't that because EU buildings are old as fuck? No, they don't even have them in new buildings. I beat the fuck out of you. Beat? You okay, man? We'll let him cook. I think he wants to beat my meat. That's for your mom. That's straight bullshit. As someone who lived in 6 EU cities, I think America is better. America is better at accessibility than European cities. Anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? Oh yeah, JD Vance. He's an idiot. Why is he an idiot? Because he thinks like I mean, this is this is the only option they have. They got nothing to do. They have no political agenda. They have no perspective. They have no policies that they can run on. They know that the party is like the party has like real issues. Okay, so now what do they got? They got nothing. They got fucking they got this. They can go back to like a battle that they feel Americans will be on board with.
Problem that confronts this country. We are going to have people who get sick from viruses. It has always been thus, and the way to respond to it is with calmness, resolve, and strategic thinking, not by pretending the world is ending, because what has always happened is going to happen once again. We cannot repeat the anxiety, the stress, and the non-stop panic of the last couple of years. That's what this legislation is about. End the mandates, end the panic, and let's get back to some common sense. Mr. President, I yield.
Thank you, JD Vance. Thank you. Strategic thinking, like not doing anything during the height of a pandemic instead of just putting on a mask for 50 minutes in the store. Yeah. Very, very dumb stuff from our boy